Hello YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Advanced Block series, and this is going to be kind of a sub-series of the Advanced Block series where I am going to be going through all the furnace files completely from scratch and showing you how they work and coding all. It will be over loads of series because there's a lot to cover, but I'm going to give it a go. So, also, sorry for not making a video for absolutely ages, but I've had a lot of changes in my life and a lot of big changes and things, and I've got exams and everything is going on at the moment. So sorry if I don't make one for, say, a week or so now after I've made this one. But I'm going to try and get back into making videos regularly. So, the first thing we're going to do in this episode, I'm going to do a different class, a different episode. Or maybe some classes will be spread out if they're bigger. But we are basically just going to create a new class, and we're going to call it block. I'm just going to call mine block test furnace. You can call yours whatever you want. And the first thing, as it's a block, obviously, it's going to extend the block class. So it extends block, and then you're going to get an error, which is purely because we need to implement methods and add constructors. So let's see here. Right, we're going to create our own constructor. We're not going to implement it. So public block test furnace. That is going to be our constructor, and it's going to take an integer called I, it doesn't matter what you call it, and a boolean called J. Open up that method, and then you're going to go super curly brackets, and then you're going to replace the power1 with I, and this with material.rock. So if we just go over this, we have our new class. So it's a public class, so it can be seen by all the other classes. A class that's defining the type. This is the name of it, so block test furnace. It's going to extend the block class, so we can use the methods and stuff from there. And it's going to be and the constructor is going to be public block test furnace, so it's going to be seen by other classes, and it is that's the name of our constructor for this class. And it's going to take two curly brackets open, and it's going to take two variables, an integer of I and a boolean of J, separated by a comma, then the end bracket, then a curly constructor bracket, then super, which is going to pass in the I variable and the material variable. Now the I is going to be our our ID for the block, and the material obviously is going to be what material it's made from, and then our boolean will be if it is active or inactive, so if it's on fire or not on fire, if that makes sense. So moving on from that, we are going to, well, first things first, we're going to define some methods. So the first one, this can be, it doesn't really matter if you put private, we'll just stick with public for simplicity. So we're going to have public random, and we're just going to call it rand for now. And basically what this, and also you'll get an error with random, and you need to import the random class. So if you aren't using Eclipse, it'll be import space java.util.capital R for random semicolon. And basically what this does is it randomizes the direction in which the contents of the furnace will go when you break it. So when you break a furnace, it drops everything that's inside it, all the items, and basically this just randomizes the direction in which they're going to fly. So that's simple enough. And then the next one is we're going to have a public final boolean called is active, and basically this is going to be, this is basically the same as this boolean here, but why have we got, I don't know, I don't really think it needs to be final, to be honest. Basically, this is the same as this. So this is if the furnace is activated, so if it's cooking something or if it isn't. So we then need to define these two oh, there's a third one actually, which is going to be public static boolean keep keep inventory is what we're going to call it, and that is going to equal false. So basically this is going to be basically this is going to be a boolean which prevents the furnace inventory from being dropped if the block is removed when the furnace block changes from idle to active. Oh, okay, so basically when you are changing basically the system works that you have an how can I explain this? An idle furnace and an active furnace, which are two completely separate blocks. So basically you are going to one block, basically when you remove the block it's going to drop all the items, but this boolean prevents that from happening when it's just swapping from active to idle, if that makes sense. So it's just it's kind of hard to explain, but you'll understand when we get into that part of the code. Right, so the next thing we need to do is basically enable these methods so they run properly. So the first one we need to do is set the rand variable equal to a new random. So basically that is just defining this random variable and making it equal to the random class. Pretty self-explanatory. And the next one is going to be the isActive variable equals j. So this isActive variable is going to be the same as this boolean variable. So basically this boolean variable will either be set to true or false depending on whether it's the idle block or the active block, and we are setting this isActive block isActive variable within our furnace class to the same as that, so we can use it throughout our code. That is all for now. We'll get onto textures and stuff later. But the next one is a simple method. It's just public int id dropped, which takes three variables. The first being an integer of I, the second being a random variable, which we're just going to call random, and the last being an integer of j. As you can see, we have an error because it's an integer and we haven't got a return statement yet. So we're just going to return. For now we're going to return 0 because we haven't defined our blocks yet, but eventually we will define our blocks in our mod underscore file and we'll make it return that. So this is just setting up all the different methods. And also, if you want to check that you've wrote this method right, just type @override, and if you get an error then you have spelt something wrong or done the capitals wrong or added the variables wrong. Then the next thing you want to do is type public void onBlock added, which takes a world variable which we're going to call world. It takes an integer which we're going to call I, an integer which we're going to call j, and an integer which we're going to call k. And then we're just going to call the super function on onBlock added, which is going to take obviously the same variables. So basically this is saying that when this method will run when when any block that references this class is added to the world. So basically what we're saying is when this is added, do what it would already do, but also we're going to override it later on once we have made another method called public void set default